This evening, customers warned to exercise caution when making local online purchases. GPL employees gets a 7% increase. ATV driver killed in a road accident. In the region, Don't Shoot protests grip Peru amid political turmoil, and internationally, up to 100,000 nurses stage last resort strike in the UK over pay. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Over 70% of Ghana Power and Light employees will receive a salary increase of 7% due to a collective labor agreement signed on Thursday by GPL and the National Association of Agricultural, Commercial and Industrial Employees. This salary increase follows a prolonged and challenging negotiation process. General Secretary of the National Association of Agricultural, Commercial and Industrial Employees, Dao Chan Nagar, said that in addition to the actual salary increase, the agreement affords several other incentives to further motivate employees, including improvement in allowances. Acting Chief Executive Officer of GPL, Renford Homer, noted that the negotiation process was challenging. However, he said both parties have managed to arrive at an amicable agreement in the interest of consolidation. Actually,
the negotiations leading up to where we are today was one that embraced professional maturity and mutual respect. It is expected during negotiations that you would have differences of opinion. You may even have moments where the environment can become a bit heated, but it is all done in the spirit of moving the process forward.
Homer further added that despite the financial difficulties GPL has been facing, the company manages to consider its employees' needs.
The board of directors and the management of GPL, notwithstanding that challenge, recognized the need to take into consideration the desires and expectations to some extent of employees and tried its best to make an offer.
He also indicated that another cycle of negotiations would commence soon. The signing ceremony was held at the Ministry of Labour boardroom. GPL's Human Resources Divisional Director Bal Prasad, NAACIE's General President Whitney Graham, and representatives from both entities were also in attendance at the signing. With Christmas just over a week away, the Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission has received several official and unofficial complaints of fraud when buying in the local internet market. In light of the numerous complaints, this seems to be a growing issue in the country. The Commission therefore advises consumers to be vigilant when entering into any transaction with sellers in the local online marketplace. The complaints received have ranged from the non-functioning of items purchased to items being materially different in brand and quality from what was advertised. Some sellers frequently delete their social media accounts immediately after scamming the buyers and operate under several different names. Without contact information, consumers and the CCAC have difficulty securing redress from the errant suppliers. To avoid being scammed or duped by these unscrupulous suppliers, the CCAC advises to check the seller's history and review comments from recent buyers. Find out about their rules for refunds and returns. Ensure the sellers list their contact information, particularly a physical address. This is highly vital to facilitate the regress process. Check closely the images posted to verify they are the actual images of the item on sale and are not stock images. Ensure you are allowed to test the functionality of the electronics and appliances before you make the final purchase. Use safe payment methods. Ensure you collect a receipt for each transaction. Ensure you are issued with an explicit warranty. Keep all messages and correspondence between you and the seller. You can also call the CCAC on 219-4410 to check if there are any complaints or files on the seller. If consumers encounter problems with a seller in the local online marketplace, contact the seller immediately. If the issue is not resolved, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Affairs Commission via the website on the screen. Stick around after the break ATV driver killed in a road accident, and another Guyanese will soon be admitted into the Centenarian Club.
Last year, we couldn't celebrate Christmas as we wanted to, so for this year, we had everything planned. 100,000 watts of lights, 10 feet tall tree, the best table ever, custom t-shirts, live shows, DJ. And we also had Uncle Mario, who forgot the KFC buckets in the car with the keys inside.
Step back!
This Christmas is to be enjoyed no matter what. Let's savor this Christmas.
Shop at John Lewis Styles in December, and you could win one Amazon Echo Show every day. Yes, every day. And that's not all. 4 persons will win $500,000 to spend in the store. Just imagine $500,000 to spend on clothing, footwear, watches, fragrances, handbags, luggage, and accessories. So shop now at John Lewis Styles to win one Amazon Echo Show every day and $500,000 to spend in the store. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Give your home or office some shine. Fortune Investment Company. We provide reliable, commercial and residential, professional cleaning services in Guyana. We clean homes and commercial offices. Other services offered are floor care and tile polishing, interior auto detailing services, power washing, weeding and cleaning, and carpet, couch, and mattress cleaning. We are committed to keeping your homes and offices squeaky clean. Call us now at 592-689-7558 or 592-639-6365 or visit us at 3430 Jackson North Rumville, Georgetown, Guyana. Fortune Investment Company. When we say clean, we mean spotless.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Police are investigating a fatal accident on the Access Road in Carew Village, Lower Mazaruni River on Thursday, December 15th. Dead is 25-year-old Kenny Timmerman of 3rd Avenue, Bartica. Enquiries disclosed that around 11 a.m., an all-terrain vehicle driven by Timmerman with 20-year-old pillion rider Michael Friedru of Bartica was proceeding south along the eastern side of the Carew Village Access Road at a fast rate of speed. Timmerman lost control of the ATV while negotiating a turn and collided with a veranda of a wooden house in the area. As a result of the collision, Timmerman sustained severe injuries. He was picked up in an unconscious state and taken to the Bartica Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival by a doctor on duty. The pillion rider was treated at the Bartica Regional Hospital and sent away. Timmerman's body is at a funeral home awaiting a post-mortem examination. The ATV was lodged as investigations continue. Birthdays are a special milestone, but to be celebrating your 100th birthday is a rare and special gift. Born on December 17, 1922, family, friends, and well-wishers would be celebrating the 100th birth anniversary of Ivy Boston, a milestone that only a few can achieve. This soon-to-be centenarian grew up in Robb Street, Kitty, and attended the St. George's School before she married at age 22 and moved to Kitty, Georgetown. But tragedy struck after 10 years of marriage. Her husband died suddenly and left her to fend for 2 young daughters. This grandmother of 5 said she took all sorts of odd jobs, mostly domestic, to make a living for her girls and herself. Granny Boston said she is humbly grateful to celebrate her 100th birthday. She chuckled, adding that sometimes she tends to forget her age and has to be reminded by family members.
I don't even remember that I'll be hungry. I don't even remember that. No, I don't remember. I never used to remember. It's now they're talking about it over and over and over. You know, then I begin to think about it, but I didn't even remember it all the time.
Despite losing her sight about 10 years ago and being optimistic about life, Mrs. Boston said she never expected to live to 100 and has lived a simple but fulfilling life. She said the secret to her long life is eating right.
I try to eat a little bit of provision and a little soup, you know, but I try to keep away from salt and fat. Not too much of salt, not too much of fat. Eat less of those things, you know.
On behalf of everyone here at Headline News Update, we would like to wish Mrs. Ivy Boston a happy 100th birthday. Don't go away after the break. Up to 100,000 nurses stage last resort strike in UK over pay, and Biden calls for a G20 membership for African Union at Leadership Summit.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Shop at John Lewis Styles in December, and you could win one Amazon Echo Show every day. Yes, every day. And that's not all. 4 persons will win $500,000 to spend in the store. Just imagine $500,000 to spend on clothing, footwear, watches, fragrances, handbags, luggage, and accessories. So shop now at John Lewis Styles to win one Amazon Echo Show every day and $500,000 to spend in the store. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In Peru, the government has declared a 5-day curfew in 15 regions across the country. At least 14 people have been killed in week-long protests that were sparked by the country's political crisis. Al Jazeera's Mariana Sanchez reports.
The army controlling the streets of Ayacucho. Don't shoot, a woman shouts. Demonstrators in the Andean city were contained by security forces, but the protest turned deadly. Health officials say at least 7 people were killed and more than 50 wounded as protesters tried to overrun the local airport. Aided by the army, thousands of policemen were deployed in the capital. Many demonstrators marched peacefully, others clashed with police. The Human Rights Office asked for security forces not to use deadly force. Former President Pedro Castillo blamed President Dina Boluarte for the unrest in a handwritten letter as he waited for the verdict. The judge overseeing Castillo's case said he promoted the public's disturbance of the peace, and on Thursday ordered Castillo to remain in custody for 18 months for the crimes of rebellion and conspiracy. Some supporters blame Congress for his demise.
It would have been a different story if Congress had let him work, but no, they only wanted to fill his post.
Now the lookout for most Peruvians is for everyone to leave.
These protesters say they don't want to wait till the end of 2023 for new general elections. They say they want to pressure lawmakers for change now.
That Congress does not represent us. It has no legitimacy. It has only 5% approval. How can they vacate a president?
President Dina Boluarte has declared a 30-day state of emergency. 15 regions are now under curfew for 5 days.
I call on Congress to make the best decisions, to shorten the deadlines and make the necessary reforms. We are all leaving here.
Now many say the country is in the hands of lawmakers. The longer they take to bring forward the elections, the more people will rise up against them. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Lima, Peru.
Internationally, tens of thousands of nurses in the UK are on strike in their first ever national walkout. Nurses with the National Health Service want a 19% pay rise as they face a cost of living crisis due to inflation, but the UK government says it can only afford 4.3%. Al Jazeera's Jonah Horn reports.
It's -8 degrees on the picket line outside Oxford's Warnford Hospital. The nurses here undeterred as passing cars honk their support. They're joining colleagues across England, Wales and Northern Ireland in the first strikes of their kind in the history of the National Health Service, a service that many say is on the brink of collapse.
We've lost thousands and thousands of nurses during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Actually, the nursing profession has been chronically affected by our government and things that have happened in the world for a really, really long time.
We met one of the nurses, Rachel Ambrose, at home the day before the strike. Full-time heating is no longer affordable, so when the children are out at school, it's freezing. She's been a nurse for 20 years, and for much of that time, Rachel says her salary has been stagnant or fallen in real terms as the cost of living, particularly this year, has gone up.
So from the summer, we were averaging about £160 a month, and that was already an increase from the April, I think, when it went up. And yeah, it's shot up. It's nearly £400 now. Prices just keep going up, and we're just expected to swallow it, and it's not physically possible. So it is time that we took a stand, and yeah, we're basically asking for what has been lost over this past 10, 15 years, and we just want a fair wage. We're not asking for treats, we're just asking for a fair wage so we can afford to continue working as nurses.
Back on the picket line, the nurses say they regret the effect strikes will have on non-urgent patient care, but they say the effect of staff shortages caused by those leaving the service is worse. The nurses are asking for a 19% pay rise or 5% above inflation to meet, they say, a 20% fall in real terms wages in recent years. It's a negotiating position that the government so far isn't engaging with, beyond around 4% currently on the table. Any more, they say, will have to be paid for in higher taxes. Support has grown as the day goes on. The nurses joined by representatives of other unions. It's not only healthcare that's under pressure, but railways, airports, the border force, bus drivers and more. The government facing a winter wave of disruption right across the public sector. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Oxford.
And finally, US President Joe Biden has called for the African Union to become a permanent member of the G20, the group of the world's 20 biggest economies. Biden also announced billions of dollars in support and investment for Africa. Al Jazeera's Shahib Ratansi reports.
President Biden participated in 2 leaders' sessions at the summit, one on the African Union's Agenda 2063 plan to transform the continent over the next 50 years, and one on ensuring food security. Once again, Biden's message was of equitable development, mutual success, and U.S. investment.
Over the next 3 years, working in close cooperation with the United States Congress, we plan to commit $55 billion in Africa to advance the priorities we share and to support the Agenda 2063.
However, when asked, U.S. government officials were unable to provide a breakdown of how the figure of $55 billion was arrived at, or how the Biden administration intends to get Congress to approve that sum. The president of the African Union welcomed the U.S.'s renewed commitment to Africa, but called for Washington to end its economic sanctions on Zimbabwe and its plans to sanction other African countries via the so-called Malign Russian Activities in Africa Act, still working its way through Congress.
This bill, with its sanctions, which targets a whole continent, is the first in international relations. Africa is asking why such a bill exists, and why is Africa targeted?
At least outwardly, the U.S. has changed its tone at the summit, not publicly hectoring African nations about decisions Washington doesn't agree with. But there is still skepticism about whether anything really is different.
The problem isn't what they're saying. They're saying all the right things. The problem is they're not doing anything differently. They're still focusing more on open societies, on values, rather than on increasing investments and sort of a more concrete approach to encouraging businesses to invest in the region.
And even as the Biden administration talks of democracy and human rights, it was notable that the only African leader to get an honor guard was the Egyptian president, who oversees a government not noted for its democratic values. The US sees itself as the world's indispensable nation, but there's little patience for that sort of talk here. There are simply too many other countries willing to do business with Africa who don't demand economic and political obedience. Shihab Ratansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Update. We will be back on Monday at 7 p.m. with another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other and do have a wonderful weekend.